If there's one thing that sticks with you from high school biology, it's got to be this. The mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. We've all heard it a million times. But that simple little phrase, it hides this huge, fascinating, and honestly, kind of dangerous secret. So yeah, let's get right into it.
I mean, just think about it for a second. These little guys, they're essential for everything. Every single thought that flashes through your brain, every beat of your heart, that's them. And yet when they fail, they're tied to some of the absolute worst diseases out there. So how? How can something so incredibly vital also be our greatest weakness? That's the big paradox we're going to dig into today.
And this is where it gets really clear. On one side, you've got us, animals. Our mitochondria, they're like these finely tuned, high-performance race car engines. I mean, they're built for pure speed and power. But then you look at almost everything else, plants, fungi, you name it, and their mitochondria are more like rugged, all-terrain vehicles. They're flexible, super robust, and just built to handle whatever you throw at them. So to figure out why our powerhouses are so, well, fragile, we've got to go back, way, way back. And I mean way back. We're talking over 1 billion years ago, to one single event, an event so transformative it literally shaped all complex life as we know it.
Okay, so it all kicks off with something called the Endosymbiotic Theory. And what's so wild about this is that mitochondria, well, they weren't originally ours at all. Nope, they were these free-living bacteria, just doing their own thing. That is, until one of them got swallowed up by a bigger, more ancient cell. But here's the kicker. Instead of getting digested, it just stayed. It became the ultimate permanent roommate.
This right here, this is a snapshot of that incredible moment. You've got the host cell, which couldn't use oxygen, swallowing the smaller bacterium that could. And that little guy was an energy-making machine. Now, this wasn't a hostile takeover, not at all. It was the start of what is, without a doubt, the most important partnership in the history of life on Earth. Seriously.
And this didn't happen overnight. It was a whole process. First, the little bacterium gets engulfed. Then, and this is the crucial part, it has to survive in there. Once that happened, this incredible codependence started to form. The big host cell provided safety and food, and in return, the little bacterium just pumped out massive amounts of energy. And that deal, solidified over millions and millions of years, is what gave us the mitochondrion we have in our cells right now.
But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. See, not every host treated its new roommate the same way. The path that our animal ancestors took, it was just one of many, many possibilities. So let's go on a little tour of the other kingdoms of life and see what our mitochondria could have been. All right, first stop, the protists. These single-celled organisms are just the true innovators of the biological world. I mean, they took the basic mitochondrial blueprint and just went completely nuts with it, remodeling it for all kinds of crazy extreme lifestyles. I mean, just look at this stuff. It's incredible. You've got some protists with mitochondria that have this bizarre chain-linked DNA. Then you've got others living in places with zero oxygen that turn theirs into tiny little factories that pump out hydrogen gas. And get this, some even gave up on making energy altogether and just kept their mitochondria around for a few odd jobs. The point here is, for protists, these huge dramatic changes aren't a sign of disease. They're a sign of success. It's adaptation.
Okay, so from the master remodelers, we move on to the ultimate metabolic switch hitters, the fungi. These guys have this absolutely incredible ability to completely flip their energy strategy on a dime depending on what their environment looks like.
And this quote right here just says it all. For something like yeast, right, using their mitochondria to breathe is optional. Yeah, optional. If there's enough sugar for them to ferment, they can literally lose all of their mitochondrial DNA and just keep on going. They're fine. For them, it's a backup plan, not the main event like it is for us. Can you even imagine that?
Okay, last stop on our tour, the plant kingdom. And if I had to pick one word to describe their mitochondria, it would be resilient. Plants basically engineered a system that's not just powerful, but also super stable and really, really tough.
So, what's their secret? It's teamwork, plain and simple. Plant mitochondria are always working together with chloroplasts. You know, the little green engines that run on sunlight? They're constantly passing energy and resources back and forth, creating this amazing shared power grid. It's so much more stable and robust than the solo act our mitochondria are pulling off. But plants have one more trick up their sleeve. A secret weapon, really. It's called alternative oxidase, or AOX for short. Think of this as a special protein that works like an energy bypass. So if the main production line gets jammed up or stressed out, AOX just opens up a whole new route.
The best way to think about it is like a safety valve on a pressure cooker. When things get too hot and the pressure starts to build, which for a cell means it's making all these nasty, damaging molecules, AOX just lets off the steam. It keeps the whole system from having a catastrophic meltdown. Now, it's not as efficient at making energy this way, but who cares? It prioritizes survival. And we animals, for the most part, we don't have this valve.
And that brings us right back to us, to animals. Because our ancestors, evolutionarily speaking, made a very, very different choice. They didn't go for flexibility. They didn't build in any safety valves. No, they made a massive, high-stakes gamble.
They went all in on one thing and one thing only: performance. Pure, raw power. They stripped down their mitochondria, streamlined everything, and optimized them for a single job, pumping out huge amounts of energy with insane efficiency. That's what lets us have big brains, fast muscles, and active lives. We sacrificed robustness for speed.
But that high-performance engine, it comes with a price tag. A big one. Our mitochondrial DNA is bare bones, with almost no tools to repair itself. So when damaging mutations pop up, they can accumulate and take over way too easily. And crucially, we're completely missing that AOX safety valve that plants have. So when our system gets stressed, there's no escape route. The pressure just builds and builds and builds until something breaks.
So, okay, let's tie all this together. The story of our mitochondria is really a story about a massive evolutionary trade-off. It's a deal that, on one hand, gave us our complexity, but on the other, created our single greatest vulnerability.
And this is the really profound thing to take away from all this. A mitochondrial change that, in a protist, is a brilliant adaptation to a new environment, or in a yeast cell, lets it switch food sources. In us, that same kind of change becomes a horrible disease. Our evolutionary bet on a high-energy, high-performance lifestyle has left us with this incredible power source, for sure, but it's a power source that is fundamentally deeply fragile. So yeah, the next time you hear someone say the powerhouse of the cell, remember the paradox. Its greatest strength is, and always has been, its greatest weakness.